This D mint mark will make your coins valuable. Well, we're going to show you what to look for on coins from the early 1900s all the way up until the 1980s. So first up is a 1911 wheat cent that has a D over a D mint mark, which is a RPM, and that stands for repunched mint mark. Now, this coin here sold for $493 at auction because it has this repunched mint mark. As we zoom in here on the image of the mint mark, you can see that very clearly. Pretty obvious repunched mint mark there, but not as obvious as some of the other ones we're going to look at. So $493 for that penny. This next coin is the 1927 wheat penny, again with the D mint mark. And again, it has that RPM, that repunched mint mark. This is what that looks like on the 1927 wheat penny with the D mint mark. This one is very obvious, so you're going to need your coin microscopes. I have those through my Amazon affiliate store. They're not available on couchcollectibles.com anymore, but they are through my Amazon affiliate. All the coin mats are restocked right now on couchcollectibles.com. That's what you want to look for on your 1927 penny. Now, this is a 1934 wheat penny that sold for over $3,700. That's right, nearly a $4,000 penny because it is graded at a mint state 67 red with the repunched D mint mark. So here's what that looks like on the 1934 penny. You'll see that there most noticeably at the bottom. Very obvious. There's a few examples of this. We'll go through each different photo here. But because the coin that sold at auction that we just looked at, because it was at such a high grade, that's what gives it a lot more value. So you can have these repunched mint marks, but if they're in very poor condition, they're not going to sell for $3,700 in this specific case for the 1934. So there are a lot of different repunched mint marks there going across the screen there. But let's move on to the 1942 D mint mark. This coin, also a very high graded coin, graded by PCGS at a mint state 66 red with the repunched D mint mark. This coin sold for $480 at auction. So again, here are some examples of that repunched mint mark taking place here on the 1942 wheat penny. There are going to be numerous different examples of this. So always inspect your coins closely with your coin loops or coin microscopes, whatever you prefer to use. Now, also for the steel pennies in 1943, they also have a repunched mint mark to look for, a very awesome repunched mint mark to look for. This coin graded by PCGS at a mint state 65 sold for $750 at auction. Here's what to look for. Look at that, man. That is like super, super noticeable there. Very obvious repunched mint mark. You can also look for double dies on these coins as well. So, if you have tons of steel pennies laying around, which are very common coins in circulated condition, you could still look for things like this and other mint errors that can give them some extra value. So always inspect your 1943 D mint mark pennies. Now, here's a 1944 D mint mark. So in 1944, they went back to producing these pennies in copper, of course. This also has a repunched mint mark. So this is what it looks like on the 1944 wheat penny. A couple different examples there. Well, not a couple, quite a few different examples for the 1944 D mint mark. There's a lot of them to look for. So I'm not going to go through the numbers for each different one. This one specifically that sold for $1,300 at auction is the FS 507. And it does have that grade of a mint state 66 red, so that will give it a lot of value. So always inspect your 1944 pennies as well. And your 1949 wheat pennies, don't forget about those. This coin graded by PCGS as well has that repunched mint mark. Here's what you want to look for on the 1949. Again, very obvious RPM there. Graded at a mint state 65, sold for $411. Now, in 1953, you also want to look for those on your wheat pennies. The D mint mark repunched there, very obvious. Here's a coin that sold for $432 because it has that RPM, that repunched mint mark, and because it is graded at a mint state 65 red. So if this coin was in horrible condition, it wouldn't sell for $432, but because it's, at a nice grade with a RPM, that's the price that it sold for. So a couple different 1953 RPMs there, a couple different images there to look for. All right, so 1956 D mint mark. You also want to look for an RPM. These are all repunched mint mark coins, by the way. Pennies that I'm showing you, if you haven't figured that out. So this coin sold for over $1,600 at auction. It's the FS 508, I think. So here's a couple different examples of the D mint mark. This one clearly has a whole D there at the bottom, man. That's just insane. That's a really cool one. So different examples to look for. That one there at the top of the D, pretty noticeable line there. So yeah, always inspect your 1956 wheat pennies. It's a very common coin to have, and you know, if it's not in a high mint state grade. So this is something that you can look for that can give those 1956 pennies a lot more value than 1 cent. So $1,600 for that coin. Now here's a 1956 also that has a repunched mint mark, but it's graded at a mint state 65 red. So this is 2 grades lower here. It's a different repunched mint mark. It's FS 022. So this coin only sold for $119. So of course, when you have all these different RPMs to look for on specific dates, some can be more valuable than others. You know, different types of RPMs can be more valuable as well. So keep that in mind. Now, the 1960, we've done a whole video on this penny. You definitely have to watch it. This has a large date over a small date, and you can see also the RPM, the mint mark there above the D. So look at the date there. We have a small date over a large date. You can really see it there with the 6 and the 0. You know, the 0 on the small date and large date are significantly different. One has a much wider center than the other. Like I say, if you watch our 1960 penny video, Couch Collectibles, you'll find that video here, and we kind of explain and go over the differences of the small date versus the large date. But this also has that D mint mark. And then here's a 1960 where the D mint mark has been repunched. So you'll see that numerous examples of that. I really like this example here, where you can clearly see that D mint mark repunched, and also if you look at the 9, it has a little die chip in it. It's got like a filled date there, filled 9. So that one is pretty cool. But this coin did sell for over $4,000 at auction, the 1960 with the small date over the large date. So yeah, here's a few more examples of that RPM on the 1960. Again, a very common penny to find from the bank, or, you know, to have in back and pocket change. But to find it with an RPM, a valuable one, it's a lot more difficult than you think, right? But they are out there. I've found them. You can find them. Now here is a 1987 penny that has a repunched D mint mark. Repunch mint mark RPM. Graded by PCGS at a mint state 67 red. This coin sold for $1,800. Here's an example of an RPM on a 1987 penny. So again, inspect your coins closely. Do not pass stuff up like this. You'll definitely need a microscope to see these. These are very difficult to see with the naked eye. So inspect your coins closely. If you find a very good RPM, you can send it off to a coin grading company. I have videos on coin grading companies, how to get a coin graded, how to sell coins, things like that. So feel free to check out those videos here on the channel as well. Don't forget to subscribe in the middle. Feel free to check out the videos to the left of me. And until tomorrow, I'll see you guys in the comment section below. This is Couch Collectibles, and this is where I disappear.